Welcome to the Technology Plagued podcast of Proper Scoundrels Book Talk.
So we figured out if it's a book talk or book talk.
I don't know. Did you look it up? Like, is there a place for young people to find out these things?
Let me try. Let me see what the old Google Spear has.
Yeah. Probably an urban dictionary, maybe.
It appears it is both. There's
Yes,
book
but
talk on book talk.
okay, but does the book talk tick have more than one meaning?
I think that they're both a meaning. I
Hmm.
think there is a book talk, and it can be on book talk.
Yes, but is it synonymous with thirst traps? That's the thing. Because I do not feel like I could do a thirst trap. I don't think I'm there.
Oh, come on, man.
I don't. I think there's like four people, and most of them are old Taiwanese men. So I don't think anyone's thirsty for me.
Hey, man. It's it's almost 2025. There's somebody out there.
I mean, I don't think there is. I don't. I'm okay with that at this point. I'm like, whatever. You know, without someone, it just means that I like can hang out and eat some potato chips. So
And nobody was stealing, right?
nobody. Well, I got two dogs around here that will be like at my leg. Like, you want to drop one of those chips, mother?
My dog Delta, I think he would sell the Declaration of Independence for half a cheeseburger. Like that dog is freaking greedy.
Oh yeah, yeah,
A hundred
and
percent would sell it. Like nuclear launch codes and everything, he'd sell it. Like he doesn't give a shit.
yeah. Ned wants all the food except that's in the bowl. Digi does not want Ned to have any of the food that's in the bowl. So if Ned goes to the bowl to get any of the food, Digi will come take it.
Mm.
Digi will trade food all day long for one toy. And
Mm.
so it's yeah, she won't give a damn about food if you get the ball out. And then she's like, I'm good. Just throw
Yeah,
it over
fuck that
here.
food. Fuck that food,
Yeah,
man.
I'll just go over here and get it. Yeah. So crazy little animals that we live with.
Gotta love him, man.
I do. I do. So books. Let's talk about what you've been reading and what you're reading next.
So, I love books about real life people or real life things. I don't really get into the sci-fi stuff, fiction stuff. I know none of that really appetizes me, right? Um, I've read a lot of books about special operations. I really like that kind of stuff. Um, Speaking about dogs, I read a book about it's called No Ordinary Dog by Will Chesney. It's about Canine Cairo. That was the dog that was on the Osama bin Laden mission. Really good story. It's all about that dog's life from the time they picked the dog up, the time they trained it, the dog's many deployments, one of which that he got shot on. They rehabbed him up, and his next mission was the big one.
Oh
And
wow.
great story.
Hmm.
Great story.
What is next on the horizon for you?
Man, I can't decide. There's a couple books that I've got on my radar. One is No Ordinary Day by somebody else that claimed to kill bin Laden. You know, there's a lot of speculation there, right? But yeah, I'm looking at that one. I'm looking at another one called Civilian Warriors by Eric Prince. He was the guy that made Blackwater. So yeah, there's several. What
So
about you?
yeah, so most recently completed War on Warriors by Pete Hegseth. And it was not so much that I was interested in the book as much as I was interested in learning more about him and who this next, Department of Defense secretary is going to be. Like he seems like a real up and comer in the military world, but also in the political world. And so I wanted to really like get into, because you can't write a book without exposing yourself. And
Right.
so I really wanted to read some of that. And now I've started a book called The Forgotten Highlander.
Okay. What's that about?
It is about a Gordon Highlander soldier in World War II who was captured by the Japanese, forced to do the Banton Death Walk, and survived it all. And never
Wow.
told his story until like 2018 when he was pretty much on his deathbed. And it's it is not something you want to consume before bed.
Really?
Yeah, because I think we have this very polite view of the Japanese, a lot of bowing and a lot of thanking and things like that, and that's absolutely not what the Japanese were in World War II.
They were freaking brutal, man.
Yes,
Brutal.
yes, and so this guy's name is Alistair Yorick, and it's his recollection of what happened, and as recollection goes nowadays, maybe it was completely fabricated, but it is a page turner,
Mm.
much better than the Pete Hegseth book.
Think so?
Oh yeah, yeah, because I mean the Pete Hegseth book, it's like I'm not challenged by it. It
Okay.
I kind of already agree with a lot of the viewpoints that are in it, and I come to these viewpoints from a different place than he does. Like most of his viewpoints come from some sort of religious Christian background, and I just think that things make sense sometimes, and so that's kind of
I
where
got
I am with it.
sure. Um, and a little bit of background. He was a captain in the army.
So as when he came out, he was a major. So
Okay.
04.
Okay.
Captain's 03. He was a 04. Uh, I think on a lot of the deployments that he was on, he was just a first lieutenant.
Okay.
So
That's a challenging time in an officer's life, man, being a first Louis.
yeah, and I don't. I'm gonna be honest. Like during the book, a lot of times I would just kind of drift away, and I'd be like, "Wait, what's happening?"
Hmm.
And I have to kind of back up a little bit. But I think for the majority of his deployments, except maybe for Washington D.C., I think he was first lieutenant, and most of the stories told were from the viewpoint of a first lieutenant or from a
Okay.
butter bar.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, on the horizon though, I found a new writer named Max Lucarvi, Lu- Luca Irvi, something like that. Genius Foods and Genius Life, or something like that.
Hmm.
Uh, really focusing on kind of the importance of whole foods in a diet.
You know, Saying that, I'm interested to see what Robert Robert Kennedy does.
Yes, I
Yeah,
think
because
the
like,
two of them are in a in the same arena.
okay, I can back that. That's probably a good topic for a podcast later on. Is just what are we eating? You know, what are we
Yeah,
consuming? Yeah, I'm gonna put that on the queue for later on. Like the stuff we put in our body is kind of bad. You know, we hit on that a little bit, I think, in our first podcast, but there's a lot to dig into there.
yeah. I don't think it's just the food. I think
Mhm.
all of the things we consume, if we really spotlight them and start paying attention to them uh, from the content that we consume on the internet, from um, the content that we consume in our spiritual lives and our waking lives, just everything that we consume. Like
100%. I couldn't agree more.
like I would hate to sit around consuming uh, some sort of spiritual life way that didn't align with the things that I believe, and I don't think it would make me better in that spiritual life way. So, if I was a Christian, I think it would be counterintuitive to spend a lot of time reading Muslim authors and considering Muslim pathways and things like that. And I don't think it would make you better at being a Christian to spend a lot of time with um, the Muslim pathway. And I think that we as people, me as myself, I can speak for, I'm certain of it. A lot of times I will go down the easy road. It's like, oh, I'll just watch some reels or I'll watch some YouTube shorts, and suddenly I'm an hour down the road, and
Hmm.
I haven't lost anything. I haven't gained anything, but I definitely haven't lost anything.
You know, it's interesting that you say that. So, a little bit about me is when I was in sixth grade through 10th grade, I went to a Christian school. Um, my parents were super scared I was going to get bullied and stuff like that, so they put me in a Christian school. Um, I'm sure it's a good place for some people, but I would never put my kids in that environment because one, I believe that they're look at the kids that come out of Christian school; they're socially awkward, right? And I think that you need to experience the real world. At the same time, I'm saying that I hate public school, right? I do like the social aspect of public school. So that being said, in my latter years at the Christian school, we were told to study other religions, and we didn't go like deep dive into them, but it was kind of a brief overview. It's like this is what Muslims believe, this is what Buddhist believes, um, to where you kind of have an idea of where these people are coming from and some of their thought processes. I did find that kind of interesting as far as learning about that. Now, in the conversations I've had as an adult with other people, and I like the fact that I can sit down with somebody one on one and we have two different viewpoints, but we can at least talk about them in a constructive format that we're not yelling at each other, have a gentleman conversation. Um, it's interesting to hear what other religions believe. I enjoy that. It's not going to change my convictions, but um, it's interesting, I think.
I would agree. I think in all of my education, there were three classes that I dropped. Um, One of them was Intro to World Religions. I told the professor, I was like, "There's nothing engaging me about this. There's nothing I'm interested in learning about in this. It's like I would not say that it's poor instruction. I would not say that it's poor material. It is just absolute lack of interest in the subject matter. The other two, one was a lib class. I think it was like women in business or something. And I really thought that it would kind of showcase how certain women have really pioneered a business. And no, it was all about reducing standards to allow women to.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I was like, what? This is not again, I was like, I cannot connect with this. There's no interest. And then one was a math class that I had absolutely no business being in.
I've got no business being in any math class. Like,
Yeah.
no, none.
It's like, is there a hand method? Can we teach me the hand method and then I'm good? And you know,
Yeah.
but if there's not a hand method, I'm out.
Yeah, don't want no part in it.
Yeah. And looking back, I went from public school to Christian school, back to public school. And, I've been in a private university, a state university. When I look at the value of education that I got from private university or state university, absolutely a wash. They were absolutely the same because it was all about the work that I put into it. When I look at the level of education from the Christian school, because I in public school went to Christian school, they were like, "Oh wow, you're so smart. Let's put you in these advanced classes that were not very challenging." And then going back to public school and being behind,
Uh
and I was like, "Wait, I just left private school. I'm supposed to be smarter than you now."
yeah. Yeah, no, I will 100% agree with that. Um I did not do well in a Christian school. The first few years I was there, we had teachers just like anywhere else would. As the school started losing money, they couldn't pay to have the teachers they did. So we weren't rotating class like a normal high schooler would. We had videos. So I remember it was the first year. It was eighth, ninth, no, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th was in a room. Or I might be getting that backwards. Anyway, there was 4 grades in one room, 4 grades in another. There's one teacher for both of them, and you had videos you had to watch. So like my class, somebody had to get up and put the math tape in, and we had headphones, and we would listen. And when math was over, we had our homework, we had our assignments. We put the English tape in, and it was I couldn't. My ADHD self, I've not been diagnosed, but I have ADHD. I could not keep track, and I did not do good at all.
I don't think there's advantage. I really like maybe homeschools or charter schools. I think that you should, if you're a parent, you should decide how your kid is educated. Like if you want them to be educated in a charter school where there's a lot of it that's focused on farming or agriculture, or, some sort of relevant to your lifestyle, your life way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good. I think you should be able to do that. I mean,
I
I
would do
don't
a
think
charter
it's
school.
yeah, yeah. And I might have the absolute wrong idea about charter school. I might be, people are probably like, what? That's not what charter school is at all.
Well, I
But
mean, it kind of is because I have a family member that teaches at a charter school, and they are directly related to the Scouts. I was going to say the Boy Scouts, but uh, let's be equal. Let's make everybody one. Let's call it the Scouts. Completely against that, but anyhow, they're involved with the scouting program. So they're getting that. And I think the scouting program is awesome. Hell, I did that when I was younger. I didn't do it long because we moved, but I think that's very helpful, especially for a young person. Get outside, learn about outside. Outside's cool.
Yeah. I, and I've seen these articles where people are like, yeah, we have school for like an hour in the morning and then our kids are outside exploring and being kids.
Great.
And yeah, and we teach them lessons through these explorations. I'm like, yeah, that's God, I wish somebody could have reached me that way.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd probably be a lot more successful than I am now.
Shut up. You're very successful.
Obviously, look at the size of my tree.
Yeah, that fireplace hitting on something, man.
I mean, it's, I've got a door reef on the inside.
Hey, somebody's got to do it, right?
I
I've just got
mean,
this wood stove back here. That's all I got.
yeah, yeah, it's but you got more windows than I do, so I guess it's all about perspective.
Yeah, that's all the windows I have. Like, my window budget is right here. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. So it's yeah. We drifted from books to schools.
Hey, that's okay. Let's talk about books. All right, so I'm going to ask a question. Uh,
Okay.
is there one particular book that has helped you with your life more than anything?
Ishmael
Tell me
by
about it.
Daniel Quinn. So Ishmael is the story of a man who finds an ad in the newspaper. So it's a rather dated book. But
Okay.
he finds an ad in the newspaper that says, "Teacher seeks pupil with earnest desire to save the world." And he's quite offended by the article. So he responds to it and he goes to a location and he begins having lessons with a telepathic gorilla. Yeah, you were there, you were there. And then all of a sudden it's like, what? Yeah. So Ishmael is a gorilla that has a cognitive ability to interact and enlighten this man. And it's all about the story of his studentship with this gorilla who is teaching him basically philosophy
Oh,
and perspective. And so it's all about the back and forth between these two. And it's a fascinating book. And I've probably purchased 10 copies of this book.
really?
And it seems like every time I finish reading it, there is somebody that I pass it off to. So, how about you? What one book stands out in your mind?
The autobiography of Dick Winters. Major Richard Winters was a um, junior officer, went all the way up to major during World War II. If you ever watched Band of Brothers, that's him, right? He is the guy that kind of takes over at the very beginning. But as a mid-level manager, that book really helped me progress. Um, I found myself in a very hard time, especially at the very beginning of mid-level management, and by doing the principles that he taught through his book, um, I was able to be kind of successful with it. So I credit a lot of stuff to that, but it also not just in management, but I think it let me be a better person or helped me become a better person. He's a very stoic type of person, and he kind of keeps his cards kind of close to his chest, and but he's very intelligent. Reading, he's constantly reading, he's constantly improving himself. He's being the best version of himself that he could be, and I think we all should aspire to be. We should aspire to be a dick.
I think I've got that part mastered if you ask the people that I work with.
Yeah,
So,
no, great book.
yeah, it's interesting. I like it. Do you think most people have an aspiration to be the best version of them?
No, absolutely not.
Why
Um,
not? Like, well, not why. So why do you think people lack the insight into themselves to have that desire to be better?
I think there's so many people that's okay with mediocrity. To be completely honest with you, I mean, I work not in the profession I'm at now, but before, like it was like pulling teeth to get certain individuals to train to do something that they are so okay with being mediocre that they have got no desire to improve. How many people have you worked with that's like that? You know, I know that we've worked with the same people. You know.
Oh yeah. I I think if you are in a profession that is dynamic the way that ours is, you will always find certain people who kind of want to push that envelope, and they want to be out there on that front line. And there's other people that are like, I don't really care where the front line goes. I'm just being dragged along by it. And I'm kind of reaping the benefits of all these other hardcore people that are out here doing this.
Hmm.
And I think I've been
And
both of those people. I think
really,
that, oh God, yeah, yeah. I think that there have been times in my life where I probably was at a level that was maybe a little more competent than other people that I was around. And it really made me feel awkward, you know, because they're like, oh, you're just trying to grab a supervisor car, or you're just trying to, you know, trying to gain favor or whatever. And there wasn't a focus on, hey, you're trying to be better at your job because your job counts and your job matters and your job displays a certain sense of pride about who you are to be able to do your job well. And I can remember sitting in my work rig and getting a new partner at the time, and he just started going through these low frequency, high acuity incidents. And he's like, "Hey, what's the protocol on this? What's the algorithm on this?" And like the first time, I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Why are you asking me this? Do you not think I know?" And he's like, "I'm asking you because I don't know, because no one ever does this, but anyone could have to do this. And if it happens to me, I don't want to lose my job." And that was like one of the first times where I had permission to really like, you know what? I want to be one of the better ones at what I'm doing.
yeah.
And we started doing that. And as other people would kind of come through our orbit and would see us doing that, they'd be like, hey, you know, Andy and this other guy are over here sitting in the back of a truck talking about stuff that never happens, and they know what to do because they're talking about it, and they're starting practices to make themselves able to just, like, if it ever does happen, just roll with it. Like, we
Hmm.
didn't just stay in our like in our protocol book and our algorithm books. We talked about our daily operations. Like, what if we have some sort of violent incident that happens, or we become under duress? How do we communicate that to each other? How do we operate from that moment where something goes wrong that we can't control? And because we talked about that, and because we went through it, we probably dodged an incident that would have turned violent, because we did talk about it and we did have a plan. And it was like, oh, this is one of those back of the car things when, you know, where we sit on the bumper and we talk about stuff that never happens and now it's happening.
That's a
uh,
really great point.
yeah, and from there it kind of gave us a certain prestige
Hmm.
because that wasn't coming from one of our supervisors. Our supervisors didn't know what we were doing. They were not qualified to critique us on any of that.
It's probably better they didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Because they would have tried to stop it or tried to redirect it. And, at the time, it was he and I finding each other in a place where we needed to be
Hmm.
and identifying a place where we needed to get better. And after that, I just kind of carried it on. I may not have had the same backing all the time, but it was like, hey, we need to think about these things. It's like anything could happen at any moment. So let's think about those things and think about what we would do if that happened.
Yeah, that's a great point. So, um, there's a documentary about the Blue Angels and all the stuff that they do and what goes into their show. But one of the things they do that sets them apart from everybody else is they go over the routine. The routine is the exact same for every show, right? They don't change anything up. If you went to one show, it's spectacular. You'll go to the next show, it's spectacular, but they do the exact same thing, it's the exact same maneuvers. They talk about their maneuvers. They could do their little brief, the altitude is this, we're going to be on this frequency, blah, blah, blah. Okay. They have a map of like overhead map and they draw on the map the maneuvers they're doing. We're going to barrel roll here. We're going to do this maneuver here, whatever. After that, everybody closes their eyes. They pretend to grab their controls and they do the entire show sitting in their chair. Um, it's repetition prime decision making. It's not muscle memory, but it's that, and they're professionals. They've done these maneuvers thousands of times, but they're still practicing to make sure it's perfect for the viewers, right? Um, Going to work every morning. When I go to work, one thing I do is right before I get to work, there's a certain point, there's a certain landmark. When I cross this bridge, I cut my podcast off, I cut my book off, I get mentally in the zone, and I practice one difficult skill in my brain as I'm driving to work. Um, if I have this person, I'm going to do this, this, and this. I can see it in my head, a skill I've never performed on a real person before, but I practice it or practice something like that. It's not the same one because you'll kind of get burnt out on that one. There's other skills that you've never performed, and I
Mhm.
practice that just going into work. That's my last 6 minutes into work is what I do. Just think about it. So yeah, great point.
Yeah. And I think that the people that are just towing the line, they're just shoveling the coal. They're not doing anything to steer the train. Train's not speeding up. Train's not really slowing down. They're just shoveling coal. It's like, well, I know that if I do this bare minimum, that I don't have to deal with anybody or anything. And I think that's okay ish. But a lot of times those people are friends with someone and they get into a position and yeah, man, it's like don't sit here and try and bark off to me what I should be doing in the minor things when you can't do the major things that I can do.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird how that works.
Oh yeah.
Um, I had a guy that was stationed with me for a little while, and me and him we're still pretty close. Not as close as we were because he moved away and quit working with me. But I was his boss, and he was right under me. And we during the daytime we barely talked. We talked about some things early morning, and I had some things that I would do every morning, and one of the things was we'd work out. We didn't work out together. He had his own exercises that he was doing. I had mine. But I made it a point that while he was exercising, I would exercise too, because I wanted to show him that I was doing it, that I was engaged and I was doing my own thing. He was more into the CrossFitty type stuff. That's not me. But he also knew that when it came time to get down with it, that I was in enough physical condition that we could handle anything, just about anything we could handle. Our physical capabilities was not going to slow us down. Um, and that was another thing from that book that I took away. Um, Major Winners, when his guys were suffering, he was with them. Now, at the same time, he knew how to distance himself from his peers. As a company officer, I couldn't be with those guys all day. There's some days I needed to be in my office doing paperwork. But when something was happening, I was around. If we're out in the bay smoking and joking, I don't need to be a part of that, right? Because there is a level of I am your manager. So that was just one of the things. But I always made time for my coffee talk. In the mornings, you're drinking your cup of coffee. Um, I always made time for that, or I tried to. And I wasn't the best officer. I had my shortcomings, but that's one of the things that I did, and I think that really helped me and set me away from others.
I listen to a lot of different speakers, and one of the things you will see repeated in a lot of different arenas is the importance of like journaling and of self meditation and things like that. And while you were talking about like the coffee talk and the the exercise regimens and things like that, I was really thinking about that. It was like, that's an example of doing it forward to people that are in your charge. And I wonder how much more effective we would be when we're in these leadership positions if we were doing that for ourselves as well. If we were spending some time, thinking about what are my shortcomings and how am I if someone else identifies my shortcomings. I think of all the times that I've just been dressed down by people, especially people that were supposed to be my leaders, that they were supposed to say, hey, you're junior to me, but I can't be here forever. I need someone to take my place, and it might be you. So I better make you pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I look at military leadership, when I look at leadership through uh, different historical perspectives, one of my favorite leaders, one of my, I guess, heroes of leadership world is Sir Richard Branson. And
Okay.
he has a very specific philosophy in life for all of his employees. Train them so they could go anywhere, treat them so they stay where they are.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That is,
And I think that if more leaders in whatever industry people are in had that mindset, help people become the very best so where they are coveted anywhere, but treat them so well that they want to stay with you.
I think a lot of leaders, especially mid-level management, is very weak. Um, a lot of people that are really strong don't get promoted. You know that as well as I do.
Oh yeah.
Um, One thing that I prided myself on was, and this is not a talk about like how great I was, because ask the people that served with me. There was a bunch of issues that I had, uh, my shortcomings, and I tried to fix them. But regardless, anyway, um, I try to stop the BS from trickling down. I try to catch a lot of things, and I would take up for my people. Like if you were one of mine, like if you were on my shift, not if you did something wrong, I was going to get your ass on it. But if you didn't do anything wrong, I had your back. I wasn't going to let the bus run over you by any means. Um, but I think there's a lot of weak leadership at that mid level position because like how many jobs have you worked there's like there's so much BS every single day and you kind of get bored. You don't want to come to work anymore because it's like there's just so much BS. Um, and then you work other places and it's like, oh, there's not that much BS until you get in a management position and it's like there's a lot of shit I didn't see. I don't know if you've had that experience, but I definitely have. And I think like a good leader can really make or break that as far as what other people see, and how they're affected, like how they're treated, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I wonder how we can drag that into our personal lives. If we want to be these good mid-level managers of our personal lives, you know, are we allowing our weaker friends to be abused by our stronger friends? Are we a weaker friend that's being abused by a stronger friend? Are we doing anything as a weaker friend to become a stronger friend? Are we doing anything as a weaker person to become a stronger person? I don't think I could identify anybody that I really admire that's pitiful. And I think that if we kind of take some of these principles, these values that we're talking about in the veil of leadership, like who do we want to be as a leader? Who do we want to have as a leader? Who do we want to lead?
Hmm.
I think we can also kind of parlay that into personal lives and what community do we want to be a part of? What role do we want to play in the community? And who else would we expect in the community?
Hmm.
And I think there has to be some sort of knowledge base that we can tap into to figure those things out and to work into those roles in our personal lives as well.
Yeah, I do agree to that. One of the I had a friend of mine. So my very first job out of high school, I met this individual. Call sign Goat. That's what everybody called him. I don't even know what his real name is. But Goat was so cool. Like he taught a lot of things, and one of the things he told me was about goal setting. You know, um, I promise this relates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I asked him, I was like, "How do you set goals?" And he said, "Get three 3x5 cards. You've got your 1 year goals, or your 1 month goals, 1 year goals, and 5 year goals. Everything you want to put on there. And, understand I'm an 18-year-old kid that has got zero life experience up to this point. So he was like, what is some goals that you want to accomplish in a month? And I've been working for a few months, and I was like, well, uh, I don't know. I want this, I want that. And he was like, all right, like, let's make it smart. And the SMART is an acronym. I can't think of it, but measurable, attainable, reachable, those type of goals. And I was like, I would like to get a new vehicle because my vehicle's kind of not doing too hot. It's never drove this much in its life, so I need a new vehicle. And he was like, put it on there. You know, is that a 1 year goal or is that a 1 month goal? I'm like, probably a 1 month goal. I kind of need that sooner rather than later. He's like, all right, let's put it on there. What's some other things? Like we started building this thing out, and I asked him, I was like, what happens if I don't meet this goal? Like, I need this new vehicle in a month, but what happens if I can't make that happen? And he said something that was so powerful but so simple. He said, change the date. And I blew my mind. He said, change the date. He's like, don't ever give up on your goals. Just because you didn't make your hit time in 1 month, that doesn't mean that you're not going to make it. So what's our goals to be that mid-level manager in our life? Do I need to read more? Okay, let's put one book in front of us for this month. I didn't finish it. Not a big deal. As long as we keep trucking at it, right? And that builds our endurance of life. So I promise it's going somewhere, right? And that's where it was going. So get your 3x5 cards out for our listeners.
I recently heard, I think it was George McKay talking with Chris Williamson on modern wisdom. And he had this concept of important and urgent. So every day or any moment in your life, you can probably identify things that are important and things that are urgent. And you might work on something that's important today, but not complete it. But there might be something urgent today that takes the place of important. And it's sort of the same concept that you're talking about with the change the date. I know that, I need certain financial goals. I know I need certain like material. I need certain things. And maybe I need to make a goal to start obtaining these things. But do I have something that's more urgent? Like, I know I need to save up for a new motorcycle because I like them. But today I need to go and buy some Whole Foods, not from the store Whole Foods, but I need to buy foods whose ingredient is the food. Like, what's in your carrots? Carrots.
Yeah. Not sucralose and red 40.
Yeah. What's in your cookie crisps? Who knows? Those are
Yeah.
not chocolate chips.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
yeah, I think, and I'm at such a different generational place in my life that I have a lot less usefulness and a lot less entertainment from goals. But I do find a big connection with important and urgent.
Okay.
Because I, and I don't want to sound like I'm just sitting around dispensing wisdom in the backyard while smoking a pipe, because I don't have a pipe. But to say that I have goals isn't really relevant in my life anymore. But I do still have things that are important and urgent. I think we're both getting to the top of the mountain, even though we're taking different trails.
Sure. Yeah. And it depends how you get there. I mean, me and my wife, when we first started dating, we had 3x5 cards, we had those. And something else I like about having those 3x5 cards is it's tangible. Like you can look at it and you can see it.
Yeah.
Um, like where's a place you visit every single day? Probably the refrigerator, right? Put them on there. You're gonna see them, and that's gonna be, oh yeah, I forgot. I've got to be working towards this, and maybe that's what you do in your free time for that day is just plug away at it, you know?
Yeah, I do have a lot of. I'm really bad about putting mail on the bar and hearing something or getting turned on to some idea, and I'm like, oh, I got to write that down, and so I'll write it on the mail. And
Ah,
I do not know why anybody sends me mail. If you do not email me, I'm probably not going to pay attention to it for a very long time.
yep.
And so I've got like a lot of junk mail envelopes with ideas and concepts that I've written down that are just in a stack on the bar. And I'm like, I need to do something with those. I want to keep these ideas and these concepts, but I don't even care what you mailed me. You're so antiquated. You purchased postage from the most inefficient government agency that there is.
No, sir. ATF's still around.
Aren't yeah. Um, hmm.
Yeah, they're pretty inefficient.
I I guess I would have had to have assumed that they had a purpose to begin with.
Hmm.
I just don't. I'm not an ATF fan, not at all.
No, no. It'd be a cool store idea, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I guess like if you could get alcohol, tobacco, and firearms in one place.
I would 100% shop there.
Well, so when I was a kid, uh, you could go to like a country market, uh, and you could probably buy all of those things at that one place.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
Well, let's go back to the original topic for just one thing. If you had three books you would recommend to others, what would they be?
oh, so Ishmael, obviously because I've given it to so many people.
Sure.
Um, Deep Survival. Uh, I think that's a really good book to kind of get in your head and think, you know, would I be somebody who would survive something if something happened? And probably any collection of Calvin and Hobbes. I say that because I think there has to be a certain element of fun and imagination in life.
If I had to give three, obviously Dick Winters would be the top of it. Um, so even if you're not militaristic, I think that there's a lot of lessons you could probably take away from it.
Mhm.
Um, there's a guy named Rourke Denver. If you've ever watched the movie Act of Valor, he is the commander of the Navy SEALs in that movie. Great movie, by the way. He's wrote a few books. Um, so he was a fine arts major in college before he went to the Navy. So he's got a lot of wisdom and quotes from other people in there, and that I found a lot of value in. I really liked that book, and then I'm trying to think of this other book I read recently that uh, it was really good. All Secure by Tom Satterley. If you want to talk about mental health, I think that's a pretty good one.
Hmm.
Uh, I really enjoyed that book. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed that book. Just somebody that's been there, done it. He was in Black Hawk Down. He was one of the Delta operators there, but he let that kind of drive him down. But he also talks about all of his failed marriages and all the stuff that he did wrong, you know, which I appreciate that.
Those guys have a lot of failed marriages.
Yeah, but you know the funny part about it is every one of them that I've read books about, they will tell you that it was their fault and why it was their fault. And I appreciate that. You know, there's some very narcissistic people out there. It's like uh, you talk to them and they start naming off all of their ex fiancés, and it's like, dude, you're the problem. You know, if you've had five ex fiancés and hasn't been married one time, the people you were dating probably got smart and left your dumb ass. You know?
Dodging bullets.
Yeah,
50 grenades deep.
yeah, 50 of them, a full ass rucksack.
Yeah.
I need to bring Delta or Zulu next time so they
Yeah.
can get some camera time.
Such a good boy.
No, Ned.
Yes. He's a
So
cuddler.
lovable.
Yep.
Did I tell you I have two cats?
Aren't they barn cats?
They are, but they're transgender. So when the wife went to pick them up, she had a friend at work that couldn't keep them. So she was like, we need to get some barn cats for around here, for, farm reasons.
Yeah.
So she brings them home, and the lady she picked them up from had a kid that had already named one of them Spitz for Spitfire, right? So Spitfire was this lovable little girl. So my wife's like, we got to name the other one. So what rhymes with Spitz? Blitz, right? And Blitz is this boy that just doesn't really like people, but will fuck up a mouse. Blitz. Well, come to find out, little girl Spitz is actually little boy Spitz, and Blitz is a girl. So I got some transgender ass cats now.
Or you're the problem. Because I think
Why
you
am
could
I the
turn them
problem?
upside down. You could turn them upside down.
I didn't have time for them, man. I was working.
So, true story. Long time ago, I got a dog. I named it Fred. And took Fred to the vet for a first puppy appointment. And they were like, it's a weird name for a girl dog. And I literally picked him up and said, look, Pokey out. He's Fred. And they're like, it's too far back.
Oh man.
I'm like, I don't spend a lot of time looking at the underside of dogs
Yeah.
until I got this one who's always laid out. Just wiener, just airing. Just getting the breeze on the wiener.
Yeah. I had a dog named Charlie. She used to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. My other
She-
one, she just lays down somewhere and she'll just be like, don't bother me, I won't bother you. But when you
Mhm.
go to sleep, I must be touching you somewhere.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. I don't like things touching me when I sleep at all.
Nah, I'm so used to it at this point. It's like if it wasn't there, I'd be like, what the hell? Where'd she go? He will not stay on the bed at all. Um, He'll get up there for a little while and then he's like, nah, I'm gonna go lay on the floor bed and roll over on my back and air the wiener.
Air the wiener.
Yep. I think when you and I sit down to talk, there's an unspoken agreement that there are no tracks. There's, if not an agreement, just an understanding.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's just going to go where it goes.
Yeah.
But look, we're not the only ones because I was watching a podcast with the guy who wrote the Genius Foods and Genius Life books.
Okay.
And he was having a conversation with an artist named Mike Posner. He took a pill in Ibiza. He wanted to prove to Avicii that he was cool. But so the two of them are talking, and the conversation went in so many directions and ended on a conversation of one of mine and yours favorite topics,
Uh-oh.
circumcision.
How's that my favorite topic?
How often do we talk about it?
Not that often.
I mean, I think we talk about it a lot.
Who was the guy that really pushed circumcision for newborns? Who was that?
The guy who created Kellogg's cereal.
Yeah, I remember it was something weird. For some reason, I thought it was the Walmart guy, but I didn't think it was. I
No,
was like, there ain't no way it could have been him.
yeah, no, it was the guy who made cornflakes.
That's freaking wild.
Yeah,
Ugh.
one of the biggest reasons that most American men are circumcised is because the guy who made cornflakes for crazy people decided that boys would touch themselves less if they were circumcised. Look it up. It's a fact.
Yeah. After you told me that, I was like, I didn't believe you. So I looked it up and I'm like, wow.
Welcome to the world that everyone lives in when it comes to the weird stuff that I know about.
You do know about a lot of weird shit, man.
Yeah. I was at work one day. I think we were talking about Appalachian lore, and I know a lot about that as well. And so I was talking about things like, why you keep a straw broom on the front porch or a colander, and they were like, "What? Nobody does that." I'm like, "Okay, on your way home tonight, look around, and you'll probably see some sort of straw broom, probably decorative, on the door of people's houses, and
Yep.
or they'll have a colander full of fruit or something on the porch." And the next day, they're like, "Okay, that's weird." And or like the quilt trail,
Yeah.
you know, see it
Well,
every day, never notice it.
last time I was down, man, you had that conversation. I'm like, dude, you're full of shit. Like, I've never seen that. And then driving home, going through one of the southeastern states, and I'm like, holy shit, there's a lot of them.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And now, like, you could just drive around your community and you'll be like, it's like, how
Yep.
did that exist right here under my nose this entire time? And I
Yeah.
never knew what it was.
Hmm.
Gotta love the Appalachians.
Yeah. Appalachians are cool.
Yeah, they are. They're a
Really.
magical, beautiful place. Well, awesome. If you've enjoyed, if you've gained any insight, if you've been spurred, tell us about it. Email us or leave a comment or send us your recommendations on books. We'd love to see what they're about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like and subscribe. Give us a comment. Be awesome.
Yeah. Watch all the way through because the ending conversations are usually worth the wait.
Yeah, some wild shit like circumcisions and straw brooms and Kellogg's, mans.
Yep. Peace. Have a good night.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.